The first summit between South Korean President Lee-Jae-Myung and his US counterpart Donald Trump was as much about peacemaking as deal-making, as the two leaders held a longer than expected meeting, discussing North Korea and economic ties in a friendly tone, despite a critical pre-summit social media post by Trump. With the US president expressing his hope to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un this year, Lee called on him to play a peacemaker role. They both made clear they want to reboot dialogue with Pyongyang, with Lee saying he looks forward to the construction of a Trump Tower in North Korea. The South Korean leader suggested that Trump is the only person who can make progress on this issue, proposing, "If you become the peacemaker, then I will assist you by being a pacemaker." There had been concerns that Seoul's relationship with Washington might weaken under Lee, whose impeached predecessor, Yoon Suk-yeol, was perceived as US-friendly. And then there was that social media post from Trump pointing to a purge or revolution in South Korea amid the detention and prosecution of ex-President Yoon and those in his administration. Trump later said he'd heard about recent raids by Korean investigators on churches and military bases jointly run by US forces, but he added, "I'm sure that's going to work out fine." As for another risky topic, reported US efforts to shift some of the strategic focus of its forces in Korea to countering China, Trump said he wants US ownership of land being leased for American military bases in Korea. You may recall how much of a problem Seoul had in the past with Chinese retaliation against US THAAD missile defense, while Trump's comment has also sparked concerns about American expansionism. But nothing's conclusive for now, and Trump also dodged the question of whether he'll seek to cut the number of troops in Korea. South Korea's aiming to help the US in the face of China's overwhelming shipbuilding capacities, however, with Trump saying his administration's considering a shipbuilding contract with Seoul. The promise of South Korea coming to America with shipyards was said to have secured Seoul's recent deal to lower US tariffs. He insisted he wants to repay past US support here, and when asked after the summit whether Seoul would continue its approach of relying on the US for security while seeking economic benefits from China, he said it is no longer possible for Korea to act or make judgments in ways that run counter to the US's basic policy direction. He also vowed to increase defense spending as part of South Korean efforts to bolster security, while Trump mentioned talks on South Korea's potential purchases of US military equipment, as well as ongoing discussions on a joint energy project in Alaska, as he suggested the US is open to renegotiating the current trade deal. With South Korean companies announcing another $150 billion investment in the US, all things considered, South Korea's Prime Minister said Lee and Trump made meaningful progress. But Lee will have to rely on all his pragmatism to balance South Korea's China interests with the latest progress made with the US, and maybe pave the way for dialogue with North Korea that can help ease tensions not only on the Korean peninsula, but Northeast Asia as a whole.